God bless you, loved ones. Welcome to the Word with Chester. Today we'll begin studying the 29th chapter of the book of Genesis. I am so happy that you're here. Those of you that log on on a regular basis, I want you to know how much I appreciate you and how much I love you with the love of the Lord. I thank God for all that you do for this ministry. Every time you say thank you, tell me that you like this ministry, or follow me on Twitter, or like me on Facebook and other parts of the internet. It's a blessing to me just to know that you're watching. I won't go through all the statistics today, but thank God for all of those in foreign lands who watch this ministry. I want you to know that I appreciate you so very much. We know that you're watching. We have the statistical data that you are watching, and it's a blessing to me to know that you are. We're going to begin our study today in verse 1 of chapter 29. The Bible reads, "Then Jacob went on his journey and came into the land of the people of the east." Now get the picture now. In our preceding lessons, we find that Jacob had stolen the blessing from Esau, and Esau was very angry about it, and he had said in his own mind, and actually said out loud, because it got back to Rebekah, that he was going to kill Jacob after his father died. And Rebekah told Jacob, and actually made it all right by going through Isaac, that Jacob should leave this area and go down to where her brother was. And this is what transpired after all of these things that happened. Here Jacob now is on his journey. Then Jacob went on his journey and came into the land of the people of the east. And he looked, and behold, a well in the field, and lo, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they watered the flock, and a great stone was upon the well's mouth. Well, get the picture. They came upon this well. They put a stone on top of the well's mouth so that predators or snakes or unwanted animals could not get down into the water. So they covered it over. In verse 3 we read, "And there were all of the flocks gathered, and they rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in its place." In verse 4, "And Jacob said unto them, My brethren, from where are ye? And they said, Of Haran are we." Verse 5 reads, "And he said unto them, Know ye Laban, the son of Nahor? And they said, We know him." In verse 6, "And he said unto them, Is he well? And they said, He is well. And behold, Rachel his daughter cometh with the sheep." Now we're going to read further, but get the complete picture. I like for you to see it in your mind what is transpiring. It's easy for us to read through the words and not get a mental picture of what's happening here. But here Jacob had come into this land, and there at the well began him and the men that were with him, those that were with him, began to water the flocks of sheep. And in watering the flocks of sheep, he asked them about his uncle. "Do you know my uncle? Do you know Laban?" And they said, "Yeah, we know him. Is he okay? Is he well?" They said, "Yeah, he's well." And then Rachel, his daughter, cometh with the sheep. Now let's read on. In verse 7, "And he said, Lo, it is yet a high day, neither is it time that the cattle should be gathered together. Water ye the sheep, and go and feed them." Verse 8 reads, "And they said, We cannot until all the flocks be gathered together, until they roll the stone from the well's mouth. Then we water the sheep." Well, going through the specifics of what transpired when it comes time to water the sheep and also water the cattle. Let's read in verse 9. "And while he yet spoke with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, and she kept them, for she kept them." In verse 10, it reads, "And it came to pass when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Jacob went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. Can you understand? Jacob, he's taking on this role now. Not only did he just go and water the first sheep that were there, he started watering the sheep that Rachel was attending, the sheep that belonged to his uncle Laban. He began to water them. Verse 11, and Jacob kissed Rachel and lifted his voice and wept. Now, I want you to get that now, but when you say the word kiss, most of the time we go all the way to the left in the days we live when you say someone kissed someone. But you got to understand, he's just now meeting Rachel, and that was a sign of greetings and a sign that I am so glad. In other words, this was his kindred, and he kissed them, not with an intimate kiss at this time or a sexual foreplay kiss. This was a kiss that you are my kinsman, or you are in my family. And we're going to read just in a few verses down that he kissed also Laban when he saw him. So we're not talking about an intimate kiss here, but we are talking about a kiss of greeting and a kiss that I am so glad to see you and so glad to meet you. In verse 11, and Jacob kissed Rachel and lifted his voice and wept. Verse 12, and Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother. Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother and that he was Rebekah's son, and she ran and told her father. I read that twice. I want you to get the picture. Well, he was his father's brother. Well, you got to understand, he's saying that I am a kinsman of your father, because he was not the blood brother of Laban, but his mother was the blood sister of Laban. That made Jacob his nephew. But here he called brother because they were in the family. I am your brother. In verse 12, let me read it again. I want you to grasp that now. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother and that he was Rebekah's son, and she ran and told her father. Shall we continue reading? And it came to pass when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him. And embraced him and kissed him. Here we have that word again. This is his uncle now kissed him, letting us know that this was not an intimate kiss. So bring your mind in, but a kiss that this is my family, and I'm so glad to see you and so glad to meet you. Let me read 13 again. And it came to pass when Laban heard of the tidings of Jacob, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him and embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things. I want you also to get the picture that we're not in the 2000 millennium now. We're not in 2013, or they're not, as we read in this book. So there was no way for Rebekah to get on the telephone and call her brother and say, well, my son is coming down there. Your nephew's going to come. Get ready for him. Yeah, you got to understand. So they didn't have the means of communication that we have today. They didn't have the internet to where they could send an email and say, well, my son will be there on so-and-so day. They didn't have all this technology that we have today, nor was mail carrying and letter carrying like it is in the day that we live. Even in the earlier part of this century and the earlier part of the last 2 centuries, the way they had mail carry and transporting things down to a science, well, they didn't have it back then. So you got to understand, Jacob or Laban didn't know that Jacob was coming. He was not forewarned, but you can see the happiness when they saw each other and met each other for the very first time. Let's read 14. And Laban said unto him, surely thou art my bone and my flesh. And he abode with him the space of a month. He stayed with him for a complete month. Shall we continue reading? And Laban said unto Jacob, because thou art my brother, shouldest thou therefore serve me for nothing? Tell me, what shall thy wage be? Well, can you get the picture? He's saying, you're my brother, and I'm not going to work you for nothing. You're entitled to something when you work here and do things on my land and do things with my flocks, feeding them and watering them and all these things that you've been doing. You're entitled to some type of pay. You're entitled to a wage. What will your wage be? 16 reads, and Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. Leah was tender-eyed. That didn't mean she was just totally ugly, but she was kind of on the homely side. She wasn't just drop-dead gorgeous like her sister. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. Rachel was beautiful. She was just totally fine. You got to understand it. Drop dead gorgeous. Let's read 18. And Jacob loved Rachel and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter. I'll serve you 7 years now. I'll work for you 7 years for Rachel, your youngest daughter, for your daughter, your younger daughter. That's the one I want. Can you understand? He was specific. I will serve you 7 years for your younger daughter. In verse 19, and Laban said, it is better that I give her to thee than I should give her to another man. Abide with me. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had for her. Seems like just a short time because he loved her so much. He loved her to the point where, this little work wasn't anything. These 7 years, I'm going to be with the one I love. I'm going to be with Rachel. And so it was a joy for him to go out and do a day's work because he knew what his pay was going to be. Well, we're gonna talk on this further in our next lesson, but you got to understand, when you love something that well, you give all that you have, everything you got, because you know this is coming. And this is what Jacob did. He worked these 7 years, and they were just like nothing to him. Why? Because he knew what was coming. The love of his life, he was going to be married to her. He was going to have her. That 7 years is a long time to wait now. If you look at our millennium, you got folks ain't lasting a whole week nowadays. But this man worked 7 years. He loved her that much that he put in 7 years because he wanted her to be his wife. We're going to talk about this further in our next session. I encourage you to be here, and you will be blessed. For those of you that don't know what we're doing, we're teaching through the Bible, verse by verse and chapter by chapter. We're reading completely through this Bible. If you stay with this ministry, you will have read completely through the Bible, verse by verse and chapter by chapter, and have a better understanding of what it means. I'm trying to get you to know the God of the Bible. This is what I want you to grasp from what we're doing. I want you to know the God of the Bible. When you get to know the God of the Bible, you have access to all that he has and all that he will give you. Why? Because he loves you. And I challenge you again to get to know the God of the Bible. I thank God so much for you, my friends. If you would like to contact me for any reason, you can write me at the Word with Chester Ministries, Post Office Box 200483, San Antonio, Texas, 78220. You can also reach me at my website, www.poemsbychester.com. That's Poems by Chester, BYCHESTER.com. That's poemsbychester.com. Also, my friends, we have our CD that's out. You will be blessed when you listen to this music. I challenge you to buy it. I encourage you to buy this book, this particular CD. You can buy it at iTunes, TuneCore, Amazon.com, or wherever on the World Wide Web that they sell music, just punch in my name, Chester L. Figures Sr., and you will receive this CD. They will give it to you digitally, or they can get it to you hard copy. I want you to know you will be blessed. These are songs that I wrote and I have recorded, and they will be a blessing to you. Also, we have our book, Poems by Chester, Love That Feels. It will be a blessing to you as well. You can buy these things at Amazon. You can also buy them at iTunes and other places on the World Wide Web, and you will be a blessing to this ministry. Remember, I love you, my friends. I love you with the love of the Lord. God bless you.